Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? We had so much fun last night. Guess what? I decided to come back again. And actually, this is going to be the actual continuation of last night because it was so much fun. So I'm trying to get everywhere started so everyone can see me. Everyone can see what I'm doing. My name is Sharon Brubaker, and I'm the owner of the Grief School. I'm the owner of the Grief School, the place where healing begins, where you guys are right now. Hey, I'm just wondering, what was your grief day like? How was your grief today? What did it feel like for you? If you're anything like me, when I was grieving, it um it probably felt pretty heavy. Why is my live not in here? Am I in the wrong page? No, I'm not. So today we're going to be talking about pretending versus avoiding versus pretending. Not last week, but last night, I absolutely did pretending and I thought it was really good. I thought that teaching that was really good. So I wanted to add to it because I want to make sure that you guys have a clear understanding that there's this distinct difference between to pretending to not have grief and absolutely avoiding your grief. And yes, you don't have to tell me I have my shirt on backwards. I already know. I've been taking it on and off with these freaking hot flashes all day. And so I know that it is on backwards. Okay. There's a distinct difference between pretending to not have grief and avoiding your grief on purpose. A lot of us, um, we weren't taught how to grieve. And since we weren't taught how to grieve, we do whatever we can to stay away from the grief. That was part of what we were talking about last night. And hold on one second. Awesome. Hey, Miss Debbie, how are you doing? So glad you joined us tonight. There's a distinct difference between avoiding your grief and pretending not to have your grief. So last night we talked about pretending in our grief. And some of the things that we talked about in the pretending, let me grab my handy dandy list. Saying you're fine when you're really not fine. Trying to convince everybody around you that everything is okay, that you're okay in your grief, even though you're not okay. Overworking or staying consistently busy. Numbing out with alcohol, food, shopping, any of the things to keep me away from it. The difference between avoiding your grief and pretending. And I'm really going to go into avoiding, but I wanted to talk about this. Avoiding grief is what we do internally to protect ourselves from the pain. Pretending not to have grief is the thing that we do outwardly. Pretending not to have the grief is the thing that we do with everyone around us. The thing that we're showing everyone around us is when we're pretending. Pretending, think about this, comes from the outside mostly. And avoiding are things that we're putting in or using, tools that we use, right? Avoiding does look like staying busy. Avoiding grief. It does look like you're staying busy when you're avoiding your grief. Yes, I know my shirt is on backwards. We skip places, songs, and memories that remind us of them. We start saying things like, I'll deal with this later. It's too heavy. I'll deal with this later. Using distractions. This is huge. We use distractions. Food, drugs, RX drugs, prescription drugs, and social drugs, right? Anything we can to numb the pain. We use work. Now, these are the tools that we're using to stay away from the grief. These are the tools that we're using to stay away from the grief. When we're avoiding, we're using distractions. We're using social media. We're using pornography. We're using all of the things to avoid. We keep our brain locked into the survival mode. We keep our brain locked into the survival mode. We keep our brain locked when we're using these tools. Avoidance is a form of self-protection. Avoiding is a form of self-protecting. I'm using all of these things to protect me. I'm protecting myself. Hold on, I'm going to make this smaller so I have more room. I'm such a big writer. I'm such a big writer, I never leave myself enough room. Is that good? There we go. It's a form of self-protection. We're trying to protect ourselves from the pain. We're trying to protect ourselves from feeling the pain. We're protecting ourselves from having to share the pain with anyone. We're protecting ourselves from having to talk about the pain. It is the hiding from your own grief because you think you face it.
You gotta flip it.
Flip. Oh, I didn't flip it yet?
Mm-mm.
Oh, Debbie. Did Debbie tell me to flip it? She probably did. I didn't flip it.
Couple people.
Oh, thank you for coming in.
TikTok invites me.
Oh, look at that. Sharon, flip your screen. She did tell me. Sharon, flip your screen. I'm over here trying to work on my smile and you're worried about the screen. It's hiding from your own grief because you think you face it. You think that if you face this grief, it's going to break you. Pretending is what we do out in the world. We pretend with people out in the world. Some of the things we used to avoid, they overlap each other, okay? Some of the things we used to avoid overlaps with pretending. That's for absolutely sure. Pretending is how we show up externally to everyone in the world. It's putting a mask on for others. Pretending is when we put the mask on for others to make them feel more comfortable. We tell everyone, okay, let me do this. So I think this will help you guys. I think this will help. I'm going to do it this way. Avoid, pretend. Okay? Let me do it this way. Avoiding is internal. Pretending is external. Those are the first things that we need to know. We avoid and we pretend because we don't know what we're doing, because no one ever gave us the books on how to grieve. So we avoid and pretend. We avoid and pretend. Gail said it'll be 3 years that her Ruby died, forever 47, and I'm still struggling. Welcome, Gail. So glad you're here. Hugs to you. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rose, for taking care of us. So we stay busy. We skip songs, places, memories. We tell ourselves later, I'll deal with this later. I'll deal with this later. I can't deal with this right now. I'll deal with this later. We use food. We use food, drugs, alcohol, and work. We go to work so we don't have to deal with this. We go to work so that we don't have to deal with it. But when we're pretending, we talked about this yesterday, we tell everybody we're okay. I'm not going to do that. I'm fine. I'm fine. Feelings inside, never expressed. We smile. We cry in private. We don't share our grief with other people when we're pretending. We don't share our grief with other people when we're pretending. We don't let our emotions out. Right? We stay busy. We skip songs. We do food, photography, alcohol, prescription drugs. We tell people we say we're gonna deal with it later. Pretending is about the performance. It's about the performance that we put on because we think other people want us to put on that performance. It's you trying to make others feel more comfortable when you're pretending. Avoiding is because you just don't know what else to do. You don't know what else to do, and this feels right. And that's why you're avoiding. Many women are here and they're doing both. There's many women here and they're doing both. They can check the box that says avoiding, and they can also check the box that says pretending. They can do both, and they do it simultaneously. And here's the other thing. They're really good at it. They are really good at it. They got the combo thing going. It keeps you stuck, exhausted, and feeling like you're drowning. To try and do this all day long, pretend and avoid, or sometimes you're just going like this. You pick 2 or 3 things that sound good, and those are the ones you stay with. Or you bounce back and forth. You bounce back and forth between the two. Avoiding grief is something that you do to yourself. Avoiding grief is something you do to yourself. Pretending is something that you do for everyone else. It's absolutely exhausting. Catherine says it's exhausting. And both of them keep you from healing. Both of them keep you from healing. Would you guys be surprised if I told you that grief served a purpose? Grief absolutely serves a purpose. And that because we weren't given the instructions on how to do it is one of the reasons that we get stuck in our grief. Hold on, I printed the same page twice. Okay, perfect. And then I had the nerve to staple them together. Okay, let me get right down to it. If you're not talking about your grief, if you're not crying in front of others, if you're not doing the work that you need to do to process this, if you're not doing the work that you need to do to take care of what has just happened to you, chances are you're probably here. And you're also mixing it with here. And let me be clear. This is not your fault that you're avoiding. Can I say that again for everybody in the back? This is not your fault that you are avoiding. No one gave you the book on this. Avoiding your grief and pretending not to have grief is not going to make it go away. It makes it heavier. When we avoid the grief, it makes it heavier. It doesn't make it go away. Friends, if I thought we could do this grief thing without all the pain, I would tell you that. But the truth is, hey, Erica, the truth is we weren't given the instructions on how to move the pain. And so we're trying to figure out everything that we can. And part of figuring out what we can and how to grieve is that we learned it from other people and we do what we see them do. All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Sharon Brubaker. I'm a grief specialist. I'm the owner of the Grief School, the place where healing begins. I sit with women who are grieving and who have a broken heart so they can finally feel heard. They can feel supported and they can feel understood while they are on their unique grief healing journey. I teach you how to stop pretending. First of all, I bring it to your attention. I bring the fact that you've been pretending and avoiding to your attention. I let you know that this is what you're doing. I'm bringing you in here to tell you that this is what you're doing. The first thing that we have to do when we want to start grieving is we have to understand what purpose grief serves and why we are grieving and what are the things that we're doing to keep away from that grief. So today we're going to talk about 25 ways that we avoid grief. Last night I did 25 ways that we pretend not to have grief. So today I want to highlight the avoiding. I wanted to open up with how we pretend and avoid because a lot of them sound the same. We stay busy. Friends, you can even be staying busy at church. It doesn't just mean in the world. You can stay busy at church. You can stay busy at work. You can stay busy with family, with friends. There's all of these ways for us to stay busy. I'll do it. No, let me take it. I'll make cake, cookies, and brownies, and I'll bring them to the party. Are you sure? Absolutely. Girl, you know me. I just got to stay busy. I just have to stay busy because the whole time that I'm staying busy, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not grieving. I'm not crying. I'm not sharing with you. I said overwork, right? So overwork is another one. I think these go together. Girl, because here's the deal. If I'm showing up for family, friends, and church, I'm overworked. I already know it. If you don't stop moving, you don't have to feel. That's the reason we stay busy. That's the reason we stay overworking. Because if I stop moving, I'm going to have to feel this. If I slow down, we're drowning in our task. We drown in our task to stay out of our heart. We're 100% in our intellect. We scroll endlessly. Right? We're scrolling on the internet. We're flipping the TV channel. We're scrolling. Social media becomes a hiding place. You start to feel the emotions. I want to show you guys how this goes. You open up your phone and you see a picture of your person. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. As soon as you see that, you feel this. There's a knife sticking out of your heart and you feel the tug of that knife. As soon as you feel the tug of that knife, it starts to go down. You feel the tug of that. As soon as you feel that, it just kind of goes into your gut. But instead of allowing those emotions to be there, because you just looked at this beautiful picture of this little girl, instead of you allowing it to be there, what do? You just flip the phone. Oh, I can't look at that right now. Let me go over here. Oh my gosh, Amazon. Amazon has a purse for $25. Should I get that? Okay, let me buy that purse. Oh, no. Let me buy that. Oh, let me buy that. And all you did was flip past the phone. One of the other things that happens a lot to us is we get a memory. We get a memory from last year. We get the memories from photos. Hold on one second, guys. I got to plug my phone in. We get the memories from photos. We get the memories on Facebook. They're so good at giving us the memories. They're so good at giving us the memories. Don't we love the way they remind us of everything? They're so good at giving us the memories. The minute you feel the pain, you see the memory, you want to cry. You absolutely want to cry. You feel it in your heart and you want to cry, but you don't cry. You don't allow the pain in. You put that down and you go to the next thing. Aida says, I avoid the pictures. Absolutely. You go to the next thing. You move past that. You go to the next thing. You start shopping. You do the next thing. You call your friend. You change the subject. This is the only way we can survive is by changing the subject. We use gambling. Right? We use shopping for the high. You go, ladies, we know what shopping for the high is. We go to the store. I spent $600. I have 2 bags filled with stuff. I feel good about myself. I'm walking out with this shopping bags. I really feel good. I got this dopamine hit. I feel the energy. I open the trunk. Before I even throw the 2 bags into the trunk, I'm already feeling bad again. The grief has already overtaken me because none of these things, hear me out, none of these things are going to last for very long. Here's the deal about avoiding and pretending. They all work. Avoiding and pretending works. Staying busy works. Check. Overworking, scrolling, gambling, drinking, eating, they all work, but they only work for a very short time. They only work for a very short time. They only work for a very short time. And then eventually what happens, you got to start doing it again. You went to church and you volunteered to be in charge of the cupcake committee at the church fair. And it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You are so busy Saturday. Sunday, it was a little slower. Monday, you're there for the cleanup because you got to go for the cleanup. On Tuesday morning, I guarantee you the grief is back. On Tuesday morning, the grief is back. 100%. Let me give you some more. So that was staying busy. Oh, scared me. My notebook fell. We misuse prescription drugs. I was just telling somebody this today that there's a lot of grief groups out where people are they're drug seeking, because I went to the doctor, I was grieving, and the doctor wrote me a prescription. Now I can't function without the prescription, but he won't write me anymore. So now I'm looking for some more. Maybe you were using it way before. I don't know. I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying that misusing prescription drugs is absolutely something that we do. Alcohol. Drinking alcohol to numb out the pain. I'm just going to I avoid church. Church was my safe place. Yeah. So avoiding is also a technique that we use for grieving. Avoiding certain places, the restaurant, not going in their room, not going down the street, not going to the church because it's too hard. Misusing prescription drugs, just trying to not feel the full effects of the grief. Misusing alcohol, skipping songs, binge watching TV. Friends, I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a show out about these 3 witches, and they were sisters, the 3 witch sisters, and it was called Charmed. Came out in the 90s. I binge watched Charmed over and over again while I was grieving. I could escape into the little underground tunnels that they were in. It was one of the places that helped me stay away from the grief. Over controlling your space. Over control. Over controlling your space, over controlling what people say to you, over controlling how people show up to you, telling people they have to do a certain thing, right? Over committing, we talked about that already. Avoiding going to graves. Avoiding going to see your person's final resting place. Not even wanting to drive down the street. Okay, this one is huge, my friends, and this was my family, but we didn't know what we were doing at the time, but it was one of the only ways that we were going to survive, was joking and sarcasm. Joking and using sarcasm, gallows humor. Humor hides heartbreak. We can cover up a lot in the humor. Chewing on our nails, picking our skin. I've talked about all that. Or just being tired. I'm so tired. I can't do this. I'm so tired. Avoiding grief feels like protection, but it's not protecting you. It's postponing your healing. And the longer you avoid, the more it's going to pile up. Avoiding grief doesn't mean you're weak. It means that no one has taught you how to do this grief thing. Choose one thing on the list. Choose one avoiding tool on the list. I want everybody to choose one of the things that I've talked about. Avoiding is internal, but I want you to choose one thing. Alcohol, drugs, serving, over-serving. Choose one of the things on the list and be honest. What would happen if I stopped doing this? What would happen if you stopped doing this one thing? What would happen if you stopped avoiding in this one area? What would happen if you stopped using the alcohol to go to sleep at night? What would happen if you absolutely showed up the way you should show up? Ask yourself, I want everybody to ask yourself, what is the one thing, if you don't know what it is, what is the one thing that you're avoiding right now in your grief? Where are you avoiding? Are you avoiding talking about it? Are you avoiding sharing about it? Are you avoiding talking about your person? Summer says I would have to face things. Batgirl said I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind. Batgirl, I promise you, you wouldn't. Working, I'm consumed by grief. Aida says I avoid everything. What would happen if you just avoided it and just gave yourself a break for 5 minutes? What would happen if immediately after you saw the picture, you didn't pick up the phone and start scrolling on the internet? What would happen if you gave yourself a break? What do you think would happen to your grief? Friends, I want you guys to think about all of the ways that you are absolutely avoiding your grief. And I have another question for you. When was the last time that you absolutely had the ugly cry? When was the last time snot was running down your nose and you really leaned into the grief? When was the last time you really felt the emotions of the grief? When was the last time you talked to somebody about the grief? Cheryl says, I'm avoiding happiness. Why, Cheryl? Linda says, I'm avoiding going over to my parents' house. Why are you avoiding happiness? Is it unfair for you to be happy now that he or she is gone? Mary says the last fall was the very first time that she visited the grave. Kat says every day. Deborah says yes. I avoid talking about my sister. Rosa says she avoids talking about her sister. Erica said she did the ugly cry today. Thank you, Erica. Thank you for sharing. When was the last time you cried? When was the last time you talked about your person? When was the last time you shared about your person? There are so many of us in here that cannot do that. We don't have the space to do that. We don't have the space to talk about them, to share about them, because people around us just aren't giving us the space. Cheryl says, I've been leaning into the grief, but my pain continues to grow. I want to talk to you. Thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. What does leaning into the grief mean to you? What is leaning in? I want to know what leaning in means. Hold on. You guys, there's something in my t-shirt. So I'm at my sister's house. She has pictures of Donovan and Austin and Jordan. She has one whole wall. It is from probably the 3/4 of the way down the wall, all the way up to the top. Pictures of their whole entire life. And when I was grieving, actively grieving, more so after Donovan died, because when Austin died, we all lived in California. So this is here in Texas. I didn't want to walk by the wall and look at the pictures. I would scream in my head, don't look, don't look, don't look, because I didn't want to look. Sometimes when I would look at the pictures, I would really feel the pain. I would feel the pain. I would feel the pain of looking at the pictures. Cheryl, this is especially for you. And I would allow a little bit of pain out. I would allow a little bit of pain out. Then later in the day, somebody would come up and they would share, a memory would come up on my phone. And then I would have a little bit of more grief and I would allow a little bit more pain. But I would be really busy because I had stuff to do. So the next time that someone was talking about Donovan and I was around Erica and she started to cry, I didn't have time because I had to be strong for her. So I had to cut this off. A lot of times for us, we think we're processing the pain. We think we're leaning into the pain. But a lot of times what happens is we have this pain stuck down into our stomach. It's really deep down in there. And that grief has got to come from there up. If we just keep letting a little bit out at a time, it's not enough to release it. We really have to go in there and let that grief out. But we're happy with where we're at. The grief continues to build up. Talking about it, sharing about it, feeling it. So Cheryl says, I'm feeling the sadness and reliving the memories. I look at the pictures and cherish those moments. I lean in. I love it. I absolutely love it. Are you crying, Cheryl? I'm not judging your grief. Please trust me, I'm not judging your grief. Are you crying? Are you able to get all this out? Because this sometimes comes from here. Here's the other thing I want you guys to know. Please hear me out. Let's say this grief is from Dono. That's what we called him. This is Donovan. That grief is from Donovan. But if you have unresolved grief from mom, from dad, from work, anything, I don't know what they are, it's also attached there. You could be living and processing your active grief. I want you guys all to hear this. You could be releasing your active grief. Cheryl says she absolutely does cry. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for letting us share your story. But sometimes some of the unresolved grief can still be in there as well. Sometimes it's the unresolved grief that gets us stuck. We get stuck in the unresolved grief. Here's what I want you to know. You don't have to be avoiding your grief any longer. You don't have to avoid it anymore. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to act like you're okay. I've created 3 ways that you can start grieving in real time. Number 1, I wrote a book called Grieve That Shit. It's going to be out on April 30th. Tentatively, I'm trying to get it out as quickly as I can. The book talks about resisting, avoiding, pretending. Just the rawness of grief. You can get on the wait list. Get onto the wait list. Go to SharonBrubaker.com, join the link, click the link in my bio, and go to click here for hope, and you can join the wait list. I also have a 4-week self-guided program called Processing the Pain of Grief. It is what we need to learn how to process the grief, how to lean into the grief, how to get this pain out, get it moving. Not complete it, but moving. And then most importantly, I want you guys to know we have some grief intensive weekends coming up. The dates are to follow. There's going to be one in June. There's one in August. There's one in October and December. I also have my 12-week grief healing program that starts every quarter. So there's many of ways that you can get to working on your grief should you choose. That's number 1. Number 2, we have something that runs every week that I think is just fabulous. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Hey, Beck girl, I'm going to come back to you on that. And that is Grief Study Hall every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today, I didn't teach a class today. We just did emotional check-in. Where are you at? Where are you at with your grief? What does that feel like? So we did emotional check-in today, which I absolutely love. I want to see where people are. I want to see what they're feeling. I should have been checking in on myself. Friends, you were never meant to carry this alone. Grief was always meant to be done in community. It was always meant to be heard by someone else. It was always meant to be witnessed by other people. It was always meant to be seen. We were never meant to do this grief alone. So, I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. Today we talked about avoiding grief. And I'm going to be talking tomorrow about reacting to our grief. We're going to be talking about reacting to our grief. So I'll be back tomorrow night, and we're going to be talking about reacting to our grief. What happens when we react? When we cry, when we yell and scream, when we punch people out. So I said punch in the throat, I guess, too many times last night. Someone didn't like it. When we want to punch someone in the throat, what happens when the grief gets so overwhelming that we just want to react to it? That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. I'll see you guys back here between 8 and 8:30 tomorrow night. My name is Sharon Brubaker. If you are not, hey, TikTok, I'm going to be hanging out with you guys a little bit longer. If you are not following me at the Grief School, please do. You can follow me at Heal at the Grief School on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I have the podcast, Healing Starts with the Heart. There's so much stuff out there. I have so much information that I want you guys to have. I want you guys to grab it. I want you to grab hold of it. I want you to use this information. It is needed. We've got to change the way that we grieve as people. You're very welcome, Christy. All right, TikTok friends, I will see you back there. Everybody on Facebook and Instagram, thank you so much. Bye.